Welcome to Have You Read It, the channel where we bring books to life, one summary at a time. Today, we're diving into Stephen Bartlett's The Diary of a CEO, The 33 Laws of Business and Life. This book isn't your typical business manual filled with fleeting strategies. Instead, it offers timeless laws rooted in psychology, science, and real-world experience, applicable to anyone striving for greatness, regardless of their field. Bartlett draws upon his own entrepreneurial journey, including building multi-million-dollar companies, and hundreds of interviews from his top-ranking podcast, also titled The Diary of a CEO, to distill these principles. The book revolves around 4 pillars of greatness: the self, the story, the philosophy, and the team. Let's explore these pillars and the 33 laws within them. Pillar 1, the self, emphasizes self-mastery as the foundation for external success, drawing on the wisdom of Leonardo da Vinci. Law 1 introduces the 5 buckets of potential: knowledge, skills, network, resources, and reputation. Bartlett recounts a pivotal encounter with a guru who emphasized that you cannot pour from empty buckets. This reinforces the importance of prioritizing knowledge and skills, the only 2 buckets impervious to professional earthquakes. A compelling story of a young CEO named Richard illustrates the pitfalls of prioritizing resources and reputation over foundational knowledge and skills. Law 2 emphasizes the importance of teaching to achieve mastery. Drawing on Yogi Bhajan's wisdom, Bartlett underscores that teaching solidifies understanding and fosters deeper learning. He shares his personal experience of transforming from a terrified public speaker to a confident orator by creating a daily obligation to share ideas online. This created skin in the game due to the social contract with his growing audience. The Feynman technique, refined by Bartlett, is presented as a practical tool for mastering any discipline through simplified explanation and public sharing of ideas. This technique, used by renowned intellectuals and philosophers, underlines the importance of simplifying complex concepts. Law 3 introduces the principle of never disagree to enhance communication, negotiation, and conflict resolution. Bartlett recounts personal experiences and cites research by Tali Sharot, a professor of cognitive neuroscience, demonstrating how disagreement shuts down the brain's receptiveness. Sharot's study, published in Nature Neuroscience, highlighted how agreement during financial evaluations increased participants' bets and cognitive openness. The key takeaway is to find common ground and shared beliefs to keep the other person's brain receptive to your perspective. Law 4 explores the nature of beliefs and how to change them. A provocative thought experiment involving a terrorist and a loved one emphasizes our inability to choose beliefs, even under duress. A survey conducted by Bartlett reveals a disconnect between people's perceived control over their beliefs and their actual ability to change them under extreme circumstances. He explains that beliefs are based on evidence, though the evidence's objective truth doesn't always matter. Cialdini's work on authority and the power of first-party evidence from our senses are crucial for belief change. Sharot's research further illuminates how current evidence, confidence in that evidence, new evidence, and confidence in the new evidence interact to affect belief change. Interestingly, detailed self-review, as used in cognitive behavioral therapy, can weaken the conviction of beliefs. The key to belief change isn't attacking existing beliefs, but inspiring new ones with compelling positive evidence. Law 5 highlights the necessity of leaning into bizarre behavior to capitalize on change and avoid being left behind. Bartlett shares stories of CEOs who leaned out of crucial technological advancements, like digital music and the internet, leading to their downfall. He attributes this to cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort experienced when our thoughts conflict with our behavior. This dissonance, particularly strong when our identity is threatened, leads to dismissal and attack rather than learning and adaptation. He proposes adopting the Shimon Peres solution, where 2 conflicting ideas can exist simultaneously, and asking honest questions to become a lean-in person. Law 6 introduces the question behavior effect, a simple psychological trick to influence behavior. Bartlett uses Ronald Reagan's famous debate question, "Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?" as an example. Research shows that questions, particularly binary yes/no questions, are more effective than statements in influencing behavior, especially when aligned with personal ambitions. The principle of cognitive dissonance can be leveraged by asking questions that highlight the mismatch between desired and current behavior. Law 7 emphasizes the importance of your self-story in determining success. Bartlett recounts a conversation with boxer Chris Eubank Jr., who describes how crucial mental strength and a positive self-story are in overcoming challenges. Research on West Point cadets conducted by Angela Duckworth supports this, demonstrating that grit, perseverance, and passion are more significant predictors of success than physical or intellectual abilities. Bartlett acknowledges that self-stories can be negatively impacted by stereotypes, recounting personal experiences, and referencing studies on stereotype threat. The key to a strong self-story is acquiring positive first-party evidence by actively choosing actions that demonstrate resilience and capability. Law 8 advises against fighting bad habits, explaining how habit loops, cue, routine, reward work. Bartlett shares how his father quit smoking by replacing the reward in his habit loop. He cites Tali Sharot's research, highlighting that our brains are action-oriented, associating action with reward. Studies show that suppressing thoughts or actions can lead to a rebound effect. The key to breaking a habit is replacing it with a new, less addictive reward and ensuring adequate sleep to manage stress levels. Willpower depletion research underscores the importance of small, sustainable habits and avoiding taking on too many at once. Law 9 stresses prioritizing your first foundation, which is your health. Bartlett shares Warren Buffett's analogy of the mind and body as a car that needs to last a lifetime, and recounts his own shift in priorities after the COVID-19 pandemic. Research highlighting the vulnerability of unhealthy individuals during the pandemic emphasizes the criticality of health as the foundation for all other pursuits. Moving on to Pillar 2, the story, the focus shifts to the power of narrative in influencing others. Law 10 asserts that useless absurdity defines a brand more than practicalities. Bartlett recounts how a big blue slide in his office became a surprising marketing asset, attracting media attention and conveying the company's values. He uses Tesla's absurd features and BrewDog's beer fridge in the shower as further examples of how absurdity can generate buzz and communicate brand identity more effectively than conventional marketing. Law 11 explains how habituation, our brain's tendency to tune out repeated stimuli, affects marketing. Bartlett uses Aaron Ralston's story of cutting off his arm to survive, Holocaust survivor accounts, and rat in a maze experiments to illustrate how the brain filters information. He explores the concept of semantic satiation, where words lose meaning through repetition, and its implications for marketing slogans. He shares how he dramatically increased his YouTube channel's subscription rate by crafting a call to action that bypassed the habituation filter. The key is to use unexpected and unsaturated terminology to capture attention. Law 12 makes the case that pissing people off is an unavoidable part of building a memorable brand. Bartlett cites the trend of curse words on book covers as an example of bypassing the wallpaper filter. He quotes Jane Werwand, founder of Dermalogica, who advocates for being disruptive and polarizing to define a brand. He reinforces that indifference is the least profitable outcome in marketing. Law 13 introduces psychological moonshots, small investments that significantly improve perception. Bartlett's hairdresser's one last snip trick exemplifies this, demonstrating how a minor action can enhance the perceived value of a service. He analyzes Uber's success through the lens of psychological moonshots, explaining how they leveraged the peak end rule, idleness aversion, operational transparency, uncertainty anxiety, and the goal gradient effect to revolutionize the taxi industry. Examples include in-app animations, fare breakdowns, and real-time updates. Law 14 explores the counterintuitive principle that friction can create value. Bartlett uses the example of Red Bull's intentionally unpleasant taste to convey potency. He references General Mills' cake mix, where adding an egg increased sales, and restaurants' use of hot stones for cooking steaks, as examples of how increasing friction can improve customer perception and experience. Law 15 emphasizes that the frame matters more than the picture. Bartlett describes how a behind-the-scenes video of his favorite brand's mass production process shattered his perception of its exclusivity. He cites the Pepsi Challenge and Apple Store's minimalist design as examples of how framing influences perception of value. The key is to leverage context and presentation to shape the narrative around a product. Law 16 explains the Goldilocks effect, a sales tactic where a middle option is made more attractive by presenting it alongside extreme options. Bartlett shares his experience of being subtly steered towards a property purchase by his estate agent and mentions Panasonic's microwave pricing strategy as examples. Law 17 reveals the power of the endowment effect, where ownership increases perceived value. Bartlett recounts accidentally giving his niece his nephew's present, highlighting how ownership creates attachment. Apple Store's interactive displays, where customers can handle and use products, exemplify this effect, creating an ownership experience. Law 18 underscores the importance of the first 5 seconds in capturing attention. Bartlett shares the opening lines of his speeches, designed to bypass habituation filters. He cites MrBeast's YouTube success and his own experience re-editing a client's video as examples of how compelling opening hooks dictate engagement. He also mentions the shrinking human attention span and how it underscores the criticality of those initial seconds. Pillar 3, the philosophy, explores the mindsets and beliefs that drive greatness. Law 19 advocates for sweating the small stuff, emphasizing the power of incremental improvements. Bartlett attributes his podcast's success to meticulous attention to detail. He explores the Kaizen philosophy of continuous improvement, central to Toyota's success, and how they implement 1 million new ideas annually, mostly from factory workers. The Nummi case study, where Toyota transformed a failing GM plant, illustrates the power of Kaizen in practice. He further highlights the concept of 1% daily improvements and their cumulative impact. Law 20 explains how a small miss now creates a big miss later. Tiger Woods' swing rebuild, inspired by Kaizen, illustrates this principle. He endured short-term setbacks for long-term gain. The 1 in 60 rule from aviation emphasizes the compounding effect of small deviations. Bartlett introduces weekly check-ins in his relationships and businesses as Kaizen-style course correction rituals. Law 21 asserts that you must outfail the competition. Bartlett cites Thomas J. Watson's leadership at IBM and Booking.com's experimentation culture as examples. He shares Jeff Bezos's philosophy on failure and invention, highlighting Amazon's 2-door decision-making process and their experimentation platform, WebLab. A personal anecdote about advising a father-son business duo illustrates the impact of different failure rates on their respective brands' success. He emphasizes the importance of removing bureaucracy, aligning incentives, promoting those who fail fast, measuring failure rates, and sharing lessons learned. Law 22 introduces Plan A thinking, arguing that a Plan B can hinder Plan A's success. He uses Nando Parado's harrowing story of surviving the Andes plane crash as an inspiration and argues that not having a Plan B can be a powerful motivator. Research on students solving puzzles supports this, showing that those without a Plan B performed better. Law 23 warns against the ostrich effect, our tendency to avoid uncomfortable information. Bartlett describes the denial and inaction of Titanic passengers and draws parallels to our own avoidance behaviors. Research shows that avoiding financial issues and health checkups can have detrimental consequences. He outlines a 4-step process for overcoming the ostrich effect. Pause and acknowledge, review yourself, speak your truth, and seek the truth. Law 24 encourages making pressure a privilege. He quotes Billie Jean King and differentiates between pressure, external, and stress, internal. Research shows that our beliefs about stress affect our health more than stress itself. He shares a 3-step process for reframing stress: see it, share it, and frame it. He adds a 4th step: use it, acknowledging the physiological benefits of stress in enhancing performance. He further warns of a comfort crisis, arguing that we thrive under the right kinds of pressure. Law 25 explores the power of negative manifestation. He shares his own business failure and cites the low percentage of startup founders who are clear on why their ideas could fail. He identifies 5 biases that prevent us from considering failure: optimism bias, confirmation bias, self-serving bias, sunk cost fallacy, and groupthink. He shares how the question, "Why is this a bad idea?" saved him from another costly business venture. He introduces the pre-mortem method, a decision-making technique where teams imagine a project's failure and analyze the causes. Research shows this increases predictive accuracy. Law 26 asserts that your skills are worthless, but your context is valuable. Bartlett describes being offered a multi-million-dollar package for his marketing skills in the biotech industry, a context where these skills were highly valued compared to his previous experience. He illustrates how context determines value using examples of technical writers, data analysts, and other professionals across industries. He cites the Washington Post experiment with Joshua Bell playing the violin in a subway station as a powerful demonstration of how context shapes perception of value. Law 27 introduces the discipline equation: death, time, and discipline. He presents a stark breakdown of our remaining lifespans and explores our tendency to avoid contemplating death. He introduces the time-betting mental model, where we bet our remaining hours on life's pursuits. He then defines the discipline equation: discipline equals value of the goal plus reward of the pursuit, cost of the pursuit. He explains how to manipulate this equation by clarifying goals, increasing the reward of the pursuit, and lowering its cost. Finally, Pillar 4, the team, focuses on building and managing effective teams. Law 28 advises to ask who, not how. Bartlett recounts Richard Branson's admission of being poor at math, but excelling at building teams. He argues that business is essentially about assembling and managing people. Law 29 suggests creating a cult mentality in the early stages of a company. While acknowledging the dangers of actual cults, he argues that a shared commitment to a mission, like in the early days of successful tech companies, can be a powerful driver of success. He lists 4 ingredients of a cult: community, shared mission, inspirational leader, and an us versus them mentality. He proposes 10 steps to building a strong company culture, emphasizing values integration, behavior standards, and celebrating progress. However, he cautions against maintaining a cult-like culture long-term, advocating for sustainability and psychological safety. Law 30 introduces the 3 bars framework for team building. Bartlett draws on Sir Alex Ferguson's legendary management of Manchester United, emphasizing culture and values over individual talent. He shares anecdotes from former players about Ferguson's willingness to let go of star players who didn't fit the culture. He also discusses research on the negative impact of bad apples in teams and explains his 3-bar framework. Does an employee raise, maintain, or lower the bar? Law 31 highlights the power of progress in motivating teams. He discusses Sir David Brailsford's marginal gains philosophy, which led to British cycling's unprecedented success. He explores research showing that the feeling of progress, even incremental progress, is a powerful motivator. He shares Amabile's research on the importance of small wins and outlines 5 methods for creating a perspective of progress: meaning, clear goals, autonomy, removing friction, and broadcasting progress. Law 32 advocates for being an inconsistent leader. He shares a story of Patrice Evra's experience with Sir Alex Ferguson, where Ferguson publicly criticized Evra despite his excellent performance, to motivate the rest of the team. He emphasizes the importance of understanding individual motivators and adapting one's leadership style accordingly. Law 33 concludes the book with the simple yet profound message: learning never ends. It emphasizes the importance of continuous learning and adaptation. To wrap up, The Diary of a CEO provides a roadmap for personal and professional growth, built upon timeless principles. The key takeaways are: prioritize self-mastery and build a strong foundation in knowledge and skills. Harness the power of story, embracing absurdity and cutting through the noise. Cultivate a philosophy of continuous improvement, embracing failure and prioritizing your well-being. Build strong teams by focusing on culture, removing friction, and empowering individuals. Thanks for watching. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you never miss our next book dive.